Jake Morrison sat in the quiet communications room of the ship Horizon's Edge. The stars outside the window looked the same as they had for the past 6 months. He was tired of looking at the same empty space every day. His job was to listen for signals from other ships or planets, but most days there was nothing. The ship floated at the edge of human space, far from Earth and the other colonies. They were supposed to watch for anything unusual. Jake thought it was boring work, but someone had to do it. He was drinking his third cup of coffee when the computer made a soft beep. Jake looked at the screen. A new signal was coming in. His heart beat a little faster. Maybe today would be different. Captain Blake to the communication room, Jake said into his radio. He started working on the signal, trying to clean it up, so he could understand it better. Captain Roy Blake walked into the room a few minutes later. He was a big man with gray hair and serious eyes. "What do you have, Morrison?" "Unknown signal, sir. It's coming from about 20 light years away. The strange thing is, it seems to be in English." Blake raised his eyebrows. "English? Are you sure?" Jake played the signal through the speakers. A woman's voice came out, clear and friendly. "Hello? Is anyone there? I hope this message reaches someone." Blake and Jake looked at each other. No human ships were supposed to be in that area of space. "Can you send a message back?" Blake asked. "I think so, sir. Should I follow first contact rules?" Blake thought for a moment. First contact rules meant sending math problems and simple pictures. But the voice was already speaking English. "Try talking to her, but be careful what you say." Jake turned on the transmitter. "Hello, this is Jake Morrison on the human ship. Horizon's Edge, can you hear me?" They waited. Space was big and messages took time to travel even at light speed. After 20 minutes, the woman's voice came back. "Oh, wonderful. A human ship. I'm so happy to talk to someone. My name is Kira. I've been hoping to meet humans for a long time." Jake looked at Captain Blake, who nodded for him to continue. "Nice to meet you, Kira. What kind of ship are you on? Are you human too?" Another wait. Then Kira's voice returned, and she was laughing. "Oh no, I'm not human. I'm sorry, I should have said that first. I'm from a different world. But I've learned a lot about humans. I love your movies and music." Blake's eyes went wide. An alien who knew about human movies? "You know about our movies?" Jake asked. He was starting to feel excited. This was the most interesting thing that had happened in months. "Oh yes. I've seen so many. I love the old ones from Earth. Casablanca is my favorite. Do you like old movies, Jake?" Jake couldn't believe it. He was having a normal conversation with an alien about movies. "I love Casablanca too. Humphrey Bogart was great in that one." "Yes." "Here's looking at you, kid," Kira said, copying the famous line from the movie. "What about music? Do you play anything?" Blake sat down in a chair. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. But Jake seemed to be handling it well. "I play guitar a little," Jake said. "Not very good at it, though. What kind of music do you like?" "I love jazz and blues. B.B. King is amazing. The way he makes the guitar cry and sing at the same time." "Do you know his music?" Jake smiled. "Love B.B. King. My dad used to play his records when I was a kid." The conversation went on for hours. Kira asked about Earth, about what it was like to grow up there. She told Jake about her world, which had purple skies and 3 moons. She asked about human food and laughed when Jake described pizza. "You put cheese and meat and vegetables all on bread and bake it? That sounds messy but delicious." "It is both," Jake said, laughing too. Captain Blake called Dr. Lisa Park to the communication room. She was the ship's expert on alien life. Lisa listened to the conversation with a worried look on her face. "This doesn't feel right," she whispered to Blake. "How does she know so much about our culture? And why does she sound so normal?" Blake nodded. He was thinking the same thing, but Jake seemed happy for the first time in months and the alien seemed friendly. The hours passed quickly. Jake and Kira talked about books, about what it was like to live in space, about their favorite foods. Kira was funny and smart, and Jake found himself forgetting she wasn't human. Jake, can I ask you something? Kira's voice had changed. She sounded more serious now. Sure, ask me anything. I've really enjoyed talking with you today. You seem like a good person. But I need to know something important. Jake felt his stomach tighten. Something in her voice made him nervous. What do you want to know? There was a long pause. When Kira spoke again, her voice was quiet and careful. Are you alone, human? The question hung in the air. Jake looked at Captain Blake and Dr. Park. They were both staring at him with worried faces. What do you mean? Jake asked. But Kira didn't answer. The signal went quiet. Jake tried calling her name, but there was no response. She's gone, Jake said. He felt confused and a little scared. After hours of friendly talk, why did she ask that question? And why did it sound so important? Captain Blake put his hand on Jake's shoulder. Good work, Morrison. But I think we need to figure out what just happened here. Dr. Park was already working at her computer. I'm going to analyze everything she said. Something about this whole conversation bothers me. Jake sat back in his chair. He had enjoyed talking to Kira, but now he felt worried. The way she asked that last question made it sound like she knew something he didn't. Something important. Outside, the window, the stars looked the same as always. But Jake had the feeling that everything had just changed. Captain Blake called a meeting in the main conference room the next morning. Jake sat at the table with Dr. Lisa Park, Dr. Amy Foster, the language expert, and Lieutenant Ben Carter, who was in charge of ship security. Tell them what you found, Blake said to Dr. Park. Lisa turned on the big screen and showed a chart with words and numbers. I studied everything Kira said yesterday. The way she talks, the words she uses, even her jokes. It's too perfect. What do you mean too perfect? Jake asked. He still liked Kira and didn't want to believe she was dangerous. She knows things about human culture that she shouldn't know, Dr. Foster said. The movies she talked about, the music, even the way she makes jokes, it's like she studied us for years. Lieutenant Carter leaned forward. How long would someone need to study us to learn all that? Decades, Dr. Foster said. Maybe longer, and that's assuming they had access to our movies, music, and books. Jake felt uncomfortable. Maybe she's just really smart. Maybe her people are good at learning languages. Dr. Park shook her head. Jake, I ran her voice through our computers. The way she pronounces words, her accent, even her breathing patterns. She sounds like she grew up speaking English. Captain Blake looked serious. There's something else. I sent messages to other human colonies last night. 3 other ships have had similar contacts in the past month. Similar how? Jake asked. Friendly. Aliens who speak perfect English and know about human culture. All of them had long conversations with our people, and all of them ended the same way. Blake played 3 audio files. Jake heard different voices, but they all asked the same question at the end. Are you alone, human? Jake felt his stomach drop. They all asked the same thing? Exactly the same words, Blake said. Same tone, same timing, like they were following a script. Dr. Foster pulled up another screen. I compared the language patterns from all 4 contacts. They're too similar. It's like the same person had all 4 conversations, just changing her voice a little each time. So Kira isn't real? Jake asked. He felt disappointed and a little hurt. Oh, she's real, Dr. Park said. But she's not what she pretended to be. Someone has been watching us, learning about us for a long time. Lieutenant Carter stood up. Captain, I think we should consider this a security threat. Unknown aliens studying our culture, making contact with multiple ships, all asking the same strange question. Blake nodded. I agree, but we need to know more. Morrison, if Kira contacts us again, I want you to talk to her. But this time, we'll all be listening. Jake didn't have to wait long. That afternoon, Kira's voice came through the speakers again. Hello, Jake. I hope you're not angry with me for leaving so suddenly yesterday. Jake looked around the room. Everyone was there, listening. Hi, Kira. I was worried about you. Where did you go? I had to talk to some friends about our conversation. I hope that's okay. What friends? Jake asked. Captain Blake had told him to ask more questions this time. Kira was quiet for a moment. Other people like me. We've been watching your people for a while, Jake. We wanted to understand humans before we introduced ourselves. How long have you been watching us? Another pause. Longer than you might expect. We've been very interested in humans since you first left your homeworld. Dr. Foster was writing notes quickly. She showed them to Captain Blake. The notes said, "She's avoiding direct answers." Kira, yesterday you asked if I was alone. What did you mean by that? I meant exactly what I said, Jake. Are you alone? Are humans alone? I don't understand the question. Kira's voice became more serious. Let me explain something to you, Jake. In this galaxy, there are many different kinds of people living on many different worlds. Most of them know about each other. They talk to each other, help each other, learn from each other. Jake felt excited. You mean there are lots of alien races out there? Yes, Jake, hundreds of them, maybe thousands. They all belong to something we call the collective. It's not a government exactly, but more like a big family where everyone helps everyone else. That sounds amazing, Jake said. Why haven't we met them before? Because humans are different, Jake, very different. Captain Blake leaned forward. This was important information. How are we different? Jake asked. Most people in the galaxy are contacted by the collective when they're still living on their homeworld, before they build spaceships, before they travel to other planets. The collective teaches them how to do these things safely. Jake looked around the room. Everyone had worried expressions. But humans did it on their own, Kira continued. You built spaceships and traveled to other worlds without any help. You spread out across space without asking permission or waiting for guidance. In 10,000 years, no one has ever done that before. Dr. Park was writing frantically. Lieutenant Carter looked very serious. Is that bad? Jake asked. We don't know, Kira said. That's why we've been studying you. That's why we've been having these conversations with different human ships. We're trying to understand what kind of people you are. What have you learned? That? You're even stranger than we thought. Most people, when they learn about the collective, either become very excited and want to join immediately, or they become scared and try to hide. What do humans do? Kira laughed, but it didn't sound happy. You do both at the same time and neither. You ask questions. You want to be friends. You're not afraid, but you're not eager to give up your independence either. Jake thought about that. It sounded about right for humans. The question I asked you yesterday, Jake, about being alone. I need to know because the collective is trying to decide what to do about humans. What do you mean, what to do about us? Some of us think humans should be invited to join the collective immediately. Others think humans are too dangerous and should be watched more carefully. And some think humans should be left alone completely. Jake felt cold. Dangerous? Why dangerous? Because you do things no one else does. You make decisions without asking for help. You solve problems in ways no one expects. You're unpredictable. Captain Blake made a hand signal. He wanted Jake to ask more questions. How many of you are there, Kira? In the collective? More than you could count, Jake. Are you close to human space? We're everywhere, Jake. We've been everywhere for a very long time. The room went quiet. Jake didn't know what to say. I have to go again, Jake. But we'll talk. More soon. The collective is still making their decision about humanity. Wait, Kira. What happens if they decide we're too dangerous? But she was already gone. The signal went quiet. Captain Blake stood up. Carter, send an emergency message to Earth Command. Tell them we have a situation. Foster, I want you to analyze every word she said. Park, start thinking about what it means that we're surrounded by aliens we never knew about. Jake sat in his chair staring at the speakers. Yesterday he thought he had made a friend. Now he wondered if Kira was deciding whether humans deserved to live or die. 3 days later, 2 more ships arrived at their location. Captain Helen Ross commanded the military ship Defiant, and Dr. Carl White came on a research vessel with his team. Earth Command was taking this seriously. Jake sat in the bigger meeting room with all the new people. Captain Ross was a tough-looking woman with short blonde hair. Dr. White was older and had kind eyes behind his glasses. There was also Ensign Maya Kim, a young woman who was very good with computers. "Show them what we've learned," Captain Blake said to Dr. Foster. Dr. Foster stood up and turned on the big screen. "We've been contacted by 17 different human colonies and ships in the past week. All of them had conversations similar to Jake's. All of them ended with the same question." 17? Jake asked. He felt sick. "How many of them are out there?" "We don't know," Captain Ross said. "But it's clear they can reach any human settlement they want." Dr. White leaned forward. "What worries me most is what Kira said about humans being the first to develop space travel on their own. If that's true, it explains a lot." "Explains what?" Jake asked. "Why our technology is so different from what we expected to find in space," Dr. White said. "Think about it. We've been looking for radio signals and laser communications. But if everyone else gets their technology from this collective, they might use completely different methods." Ensign Kim was working on her computer while they talked. "Dr. White, I've been analyzing our deep space sensors. If I adjust them to look for the kind of patterns we see in Kira's communications..." She stopped talking and stared at her screen. "What is it?" Captain Ross asked. "There are signals everywhere," Maya said quietly. "Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. They're all around us, but we never knew how to look for them." Everyone in the room was quiet. Jake felt like he was learning that his house was surrounded by people who had been watching him through the windows for years. "Show us," Captain Blake said. Maya put her results on the big screen. Space, which had always looked empty to human sensors, was full of activity. Lines of communication connected, points of light across the galaxy. "We're not alone," Dr. White said softly. "We never were, we just couldn't see them." "Why didn't they contact us sooner?" Jake asked. Dr. Foster had an idea. "Maybe they tried, but we couldn't hear them. Or maybe they were waiting to see what we would do." Captain Ross looked angry. "So they've been watching us spread across space, like some kind of experiment?" Before anyone could answer, Kira's voice came through the speakers. Jake had left the communication system on in case she called. "Hello, Jake. I see you have friends with you now." Jake looked around the room. Everyone nodded for him to answer. "Hi, Kira. Yes, some people from Earth came to talk with us." "I know. We've been watching your ships arrive." "Captain Ross, Dr. White, it's nice to meet you." Captain Ross stood up quickly. "How do you know our names?" "We know many things about humans, Captain Ross. We've been studying your people for over 100 years." 100 years? Dr. White asked. "Since before we had space travel?" "Since before you had computers, Dr. White. We've been very patient, waiting to see what you would become." Jake felt strange. "Kira, you've been lying to us. You said you just learned about human movies and music, but you've been watching us for a century." "I haven't been lying, Jake. I really do love Casablanca and B.B. King. But you're right that I know much more about humans than I first told you." "Why didn't you tell us the truth?" "Because we wanted to see how you would react to friendly contact. Most species either become afraid and try to hide, or they become excited and beg to be saved by more advanced civilizations." "What did humans do?" Captain Ross asked. "You surprised us. You were curious but not afraid. You were friendly but not desperate. You treated me like an equal, not like a god or a monster." Dr. White was taking notes. "How many species have you contacted before humans?" "Thousands. Over 10,000 years we have found and guided hundreds of civilizations as they grew and learned. And we're the first to develop space travel alone?" "Yes. It should have been impossible. Space travel is dangerous and expensive. Most species need help to do it safely. But humans did it anyway, even when it was hard." Maya was still working on her computer. She showed her screen to the others. It was covered with numbers and charts. "Kira," Maya said, "I'm looking at our technology compared to the signals we're detecting from other civilizations. Our computers, our engines, our weapons, they're all completely different from what everyone else uses." "That's correct, Ensign. Kim, Human technology developed along paths that no one in the collective has ever seen before. Is that why some of the collective thinks we're dangerous? Jake asked. Partly. Your technology is unpredictable. Your thinking is unpredictable. You solve problems in ways that surprise us. Dr. White looked excited. Can you give us an example? Your fusion engines. Every other species in the galaxy uses the same basic design taught to them by the collective. But humans invented something completely different. Your engines are actually more efficient than ours. That's impossible, Dr. White said. We're just starting to explore space. You've had thousands of years. That's what makes it so strange, Dr. White. You're new to space travel, but you're already inventing things that we never thought of. Captain Ross crossed her arms. So the collective is worried that humans might become more advanced than they are? Some of us are. Others are excited about what you might teach us, and others think humans are too chaotic and should be controlled before you spread too far. Jake felt his heart beating fast. What kind of control? Kira was quiet for a long moment. Some suggest limiting where human ships can go. Others want to replace your technology with ours so you develop the same way everyone else does. And what do you want, Kira? Jake asked. I want to understand why humans are so different. I've talked to thousands of species over the years, Jake, but I've never had a conversation like the ones I have with you. How are they different? You talk to me like I'm your friend, not your teacher or your master. Most species, when they learn about the collective, either worship us or fear us. But you just want to get to know us. Dr. Foster was writing quickly. She showed her notes to Captain Blake. This is important. Kira, Captain Blake said. What happens next? When does the collective make their decision about humanity? Soon, Captain Blake, very soon. That's why I've been talking to so many human ships. We're trying to understand what you're really like before we decide. And the question about being alone, Jake asked. I needed to know if humans feel lonely in space, if you're looking for parents to take care of you, or masters to serve, or if you're happy to be independent. What did you learn? That humans want friends, not masters. That you value your independence but also want to connect with others. It's a combination we've never seen before. The room was quiet. Everyone was thinking. I have to go now, Kira said. But Jake, keep your communication system open. The next time we talk, I'll have the collective's decision. The signal went quiet. Jake looked around the room at all the worried faces. What do you think they'll decide, he asked. Nobody answered. Nobody wanted to guess. Admiral Kate Stone arrived 2 days later with 5 more ships. Jake had never seen so many military vessels in one place. The admiral was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She brought Dr. Paul Gray, who studied alien minds, and Commander Nick Davis, a tactical officer. This situation is bigger than we thought, Admiral Stone told the meeting. We've had contact with 43 human settlements in the past 2 weeks. All the same pattern, all ending with the same question. Jake felt tired. He had been talking to Kira every day, but their conversations were different now. She was more serious, less friendly. It felt like she was studying him instead of talking with him. Admiral, Dr. Gray said, I've been analyzing all the recorded conversations. I think this whole thing has been a test. What kind of test? Captain Ross asked. A psychological evaluation. They're not just learning our language and culture. They're studying how we think, how we react to different situations. Dr. White looked up from his computer. That would explain why they contacted so many different colonies. They wanted a large sample size. Sample size for what? Jake asked. Dr. Gray turned on the screen and showed a chart. I think the test has 3 parts. First, they see how we react to friendly contact. Do we become curious or afraid? Most humans were curious, Ensign Maya said. Like Jake was. Right. Second, they see how we react when we learn they've been watching us. Do we become angry or paranoid? Captain Blake nodded. We became suspicious, but we kept talking. And third, Dr. Gray continued, they see how we react to the idea that they might control us or restrict us. Do we become aggressive or submissive? Admiral, Stone crossed her arms. And what did they learn? That humans don't fit any of their normal categories. We're not afraid, but we're not naive. We're not aggressive, but we're not submissive. We want to be friends, but we won't give up our independence. Jake's communication system started beeping. Kira was calling. Hello, Jake, I see more of your people have arrived. Hi, Kira. Yes, they came because they're worried about what the collective might decide. That's understandable. Jake, can I ask you something personal? Sure. Do you trust me? Jake looked around the room. Everyone was listening. I want to, Kira, but it's hard when I know you've been studying us like lab animals. Kira laughed, but it sounded sad. That's a fair answer. Jake, I want to tell you something that the collective doesn't know I'm going to say. Admiral Stone leaned forward quickly. What is it? Jake asked. This whole thing, all these conversations with human ships, it's been a test. Dr. Gray is right about that. Dr. Gray looked surprised that Kira knew his name. But it's not the kind of test you think it is. The collective wasn't trying to decide if humans are good or bad. They already know you're not dangerous in the way they were worried about. Then what was the test for? Jake asked. To decide how to handle something that has never happened before. Jake, in 10,000 years of galactic civilization, no species has ever developed independently the way humans did. The collective doesn't have rules for this situation. Commander Davis spoke up. What kind of rules do they usually have? Simple ones, Commander Davis. Find a young species, teach them the right way to do things, welcome them into the collective. Everyone follows the same path, uses the same technology, thinks about problems the same way. But humans are different, Jake said. Very different. Your technology is strange. Your thinking is chaotic. You ask questions that no one else asks. You solve problems in ways that no one expects. Admiral Stone stood up. Are you saying the collective sees us as a threat? Some do. But others see humans as an opportunity. Jake, do you know what has happened to the collective since we started studying humans? No, what? We're changing. For the first time in thousands of years, we're having arguments. Different groups want different things. Some species are asking why they can't develop their own technology like humans did. Others are asking why they need to follow all the old rules. Jake felt his heart beat faster. We're causing problems in your civilization. You're causing questions, Jake, and questions lead to change. Some of us are excited about that, others are terrified. Dr. White was writing furiously. Kira, how many species are in the collective? Thousands, all living peacefully, all following the same basic patterns. Until now. And humans are changing. Your very existence is changing it, Dr. White. Just knowing that independence is possible has made some species want to try it themselves. Captain Blake leaned forward. What does the collective plan to do about it? That's what they're deciding now. Some want to invite humans to join normally, hoping you'll settle down and become like everyone else. Some want to isolate humanity, keep you in your own small area of space where you can't influence others. And what do you want? Jake asked. I want something that has never been tried before. I want humans to be the first independent partners of the collective. Not members, but allies. Admiral Stone looked interested. What would that mean? It would mean humans keep their independence, their strange technology, their chaotic way of thinking. But you would also have access to collective knowledge and friendship with thousands of species. That sounds too good to be true, Captain, Ross said. It might be. Many in the collective think it's too dangerous. They're afraid that other species will demand the same treatment. They're afraid the whole system will fall apart. Jake thought about what Kira was saying. Is that why you asked if we were alone? You wanted to know if we were lonely enough to give up our independence? Exactly. Most species are so grateful to learn they're not alone in the universe that they'll do anything to join the galactic community. But humans? But humans what? You want friends, but you won't give up who you are to get them. It's admirable and frustrating at the same time. Dr. Gray was studying his notes. Kira, what happens if the collective decides against this partnership idea? Kira was quiet for a long time. Then they'll probably choose isolation. Humans would be restricted to the space you already occupy. No expansion, no contact with other species. And if we refuse to accept that? Admiral Stone asked. Then it becomes a more serious problem. The room was very quiet. Jake could hear his own heartbeat. How long do we have? Jake asked. The decision will be made soon. Maybe in a few days. Jake, I need you to understand something. This conversation we're having right now, it's part of the test too. What do you mean? The collective is listening. They want to see how humans react when they learn the truth. Will you become angry? Will you try to make deals? Will you threaten us? Or beg us? Jake looked around the room at all the worried faces. Admiral Stone nodded at him. Kira, can I tell you what I think? Please do. I think the collective has been alone for so long that they forgot what it's like to have real friends. They're used to being teachers and parents, not partners. Go on. Humans don't want parents. We already have those. And we don't need teachers for everything, because we like figuring things out ourselves. But we would love to have friends among the stars. And if friendship requires giving up your independence, Jake smiled. Then it's not really friendship, is it? Kira was quiet for a very long time. When she spoke again, her voice sounded different. Jake Morrison, you just gave the collective something to think about that they've never considered before. What's that? The possibility that they might be wrong about how the galaxy should work. The signal went quiet. Jake looked around the room. Everyone was staring at him. Did I just make things better or worse? He asked. Nobody knew the answer. Jake didn't sleep well that night. He kept thinking about what Kira had said. The next morning he was drinking coffee in the communication room when her voice came through the speakers. Hello, Jake. Hi, Kira. You sound different today. I feel different. Jake, something unprecedented has happened. What do you mean? The collective has been arguing for 3 days straight. We haven't had a real disagreement in over 1,000 years. Your words yesterday started something that no one expected. Jake felt nervous. Did I cause trouble? You caused thinking, Jake, and thinking leads to change. Some members of the collective are demanding independence like humans have. Others are terrified that our whole civilization will collapse. Captain, Blake and the others came into the room. Admiral Stone had dark circles under her eyes. What's the current situation? Admiral Stone asked. Hello, Admiral. The situation is fluid. For the first time in galactic history, the collective is not unified. Dr. Gray leaned forward. How many factions are there? 3 main groups. The traditionalists want to isolate humanity and keep things the way they've always been. The integrationists want to force humans to join normally and follow our rules. And the third group? Jake asked. The reformers. They want to try something new. They want to change how the collective works using humanity as a model for independence within cooperation. Which group is winning? Captain Ross asked. None of them. That's the problem. We can't make a decision because we can't agree. And while we argue, more species are asking for independence. Dr. White was taking notes. How many species are demanding changes? 47 so far. Some want to develop their own technology. Others want to make their own exploration choices. A few want to leave the collective entirely. Jake felt worried. Are we destroying your civilization? You're changing it, Jake. Whether that's destruction or growth depends on your point of view. Admiral Stone stood up. Kira, humanity needs to know what we're facing. Are we going to be attacked? Isolated? What should we prepare for? That depends on what happens in the next few hours. The collective is holding an emergency session. Every species gets to vote on how to handle the human situation. How does that work? Ensign Maya asked. Each species sends representatives. There are thousands of us. We've never had a vote this important before. Jake thought about thousands of alien species all talking about humans. It was exciting and terrifying at the same time. Kira, can you tell us what you're going to vote for? I'm going to vote for the new partnership idea. Humans as independent allies, not members. What are the chances that will win? I don't know, Jake. It's never been tried before. The next few hours were the longest of Jake's life. He tried to read Tried to sleep, tried to eat, but he couldn't stop thinking about what was happening. Somewhere in space, thousands of alien civilizations were deciding humanity's future. Finally, Kira's voice came through the speakers again. "Jake, are you there?" "I'm here." "What happened?" "Something that has never happened in galactic history. The vote was so close that it didn't decide anything." Admiral Stone came running into the room. "What does that mean?" "It means the collective is splitting apart, Admiral. The traditionalists are forming their own group. The integrationists are doing the same. And the reformers want to create something entirely new." "What about humanity?" Jake asked. "That's why I'm calling. Each group wants to make their own deal with humans." Dr. Gray sat down heavily. "We're going to be in the middle of an alien civil war?" "Not a war, Dr. Gray, a division. The collective as we knew it no longer exists." Jake felt confused. Is that good or bad? For humans? Probably good. For the galaxy? We don't know yet. Admiral Stone leaned forward. "What are the three groups offering?" "The traditionalists want humans to stay in your current space and not expand further. In exchange, they'll leave you alone completely. And the integrationists? They want humans to join their new organization, follow their technology guidelines, and accept their guidance. In exchange, they'll give you access to their knowledge and worlds." "What about the reformers?" Jake asked. "We want to try the partnership idea. Humans keep their independence but work with us on projects that benefit everyone. You share your strange ideas, we share our knowledge." Captain Blake had been quiet, but now he spoke up. "How many species are in each group?" "It's roughly equal, about a third in each group." "So humanity gets to choose which aliens we want to work with?" Jake asked. "You get to choose all of them, none of them, or some of each. For the first time in galactic history, a new species has real choices." Admiral Stone smiled for the first time in days. "We caused this by being ourselves." "Exactly. By refusing to be afraid or submissive or desperate, by insisting on friendship instead of parenthood or worship." Jake thought about the question that had started everything. "Kira, when you first asked if humans were alone, what answer were you expecting?" "Honestly, we expected you to say yes and beg us to save you from loneliness. That's what every other species has said. What do you think now?" "I think humans were never really alone because you carried the idea of friendship with you wherever you went. You were looking for friends, not parents or masters." Dr. White was writing quickly. "What happens now?" "Now humanity gets to help. Write the rules for how independent species relate to each other. You'll be the first, but probably not the last." "Are you sure this is good for the galaxy?" Jake asked. "Breaking up something that worked for thousands of years?" "Jake, it worked because it was simple and everyone was the same. But simple isn't always best. Maybe the galaxy needs some chaos. Maybe we need species that ask strange questions and solve problems in unexpected ways." Admiral Stone nodded. "And maybe you need friends who won't just agree with everything you say." "Exactly, Admiral. Real friends tell you when you're wrong and help you become better." Jake smiled. This was how their first conversation should have ended, with the promise of friendship instead of a frightening question. "So what's our first project as partners?" Jake asked. "Teaching other species how to be independent without losing cooperation. It's not going to be easy. Humans are good at doing things that aren't easy," Captain Blake said. "I know. That's why this might actually work." Jake leaned back in his chair. When this all started, he thought humanity was alone in space. Now he knew they were part of something much bigger and more complicated. But they were part of it as themselves, not as copies of someone else. "Kira," Jake said, "I have a question for you." "What's that?" "Are you alone?" Kira laughed, and this time it sounded happy. "Not anymore, Jake. Thanks to humans, none of us are alone anymore. But we're not the same either. And I think that's exactly how friendship should work." Outside the window, space looked the same as always. But now Jake knew it was full of friends and partners and possibilities. The galaxy had just gotten much more interesting. 3 months later, Jake was still talking to Kira every day. But now their conversations included representatives from dozens of species. Some wanted to learn about human technology. Others wanted to try governing themselves. A few just wanted to complain about how complicated everything had become. Jake didn't mind the complications. Friendship was supposed to be complicated. It was the simple things that turned out to be fake. The question, "Are you alone, human?" had been answered. Humans weren't alone, and thanks to them, nobody else had to be alone either. But everyone got to choose what kind of together they wanted to be, and for the first time in galactic history that seemed to be working just fine.